The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
CeeDee Lamb, touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Patrick Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and Kyle Youmans.
Welcome into Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, in the SWBC studios. It is the bye week, everybody. And we've got Bryan Broaddus, Barry Church, and Chris Beam in the back in the fold again here on this Talking Cowboys, a wonderful Wednesday edition. I'm Kyle Youmans. A little bit of chilly outside, right? Got that hoodie weather back. Everybody's got a little fleece action going on.
Yeah, Barry's looked like he's ready for 18 today.
Oh, yeah, you see it.
Got the vest, got to be able to swing, got some movement. got to be able to turn on that ball.
Yes, indeed.
If I started a timer from when I sign off and I say, we'll see you next week on Talking Cowboys.
Yes, sir.
To the point where you tee off on hole one, what would the time be today?
It's going to take me probably about 45 from when we get out of here to teeing
under
off.
an hour.
Oh,
easy.
Yeah. I'm on. Give me some swing moves.
I'm not going to tell the fans where you're playing, because then there will be a line out the door to see Barry Church tee off.
Come beat me, man.
Oh, yeah?
Come and beat me,
He'll take your money. He'll take your money.
Who are we playing with today?
Who am I playing with? A guy by the name of Ali and Broderick.
Okay.
Ali played for the Cardinals for a while.
Okay.
And Broderick's just stick out there, man. That dude's unreal on the golf course. So got to play with guys to get you better.
What is your handicap right now? What are you shooting?
15. I'm a 15 right now. So just trying to get better.
It's better than when we were just talking about a round that you and I played. We were like mid 40s along the way. Broaddus, when you pulled out that jacket today, this fleece today, how many times have you pulled that out of your closet? Period.
What, the LSU?
Yeah, the little LSU.
I got more LSU gear. That's my love right there. I mean, that I live and die with my school there, and
Go Tigers.
So yeah, it's but yeah, I enjoy. I got a lot of my heavyweight. I was telling you about we were talking about starter jackets.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. I was telling you about the stuff we used to wear in Green Bay, and it was like a sleeping bag. I still have this long like jacket that went past my knees that you wore in those games when it was like 10 degrees. Starter used to make some badass jackets that they still do. We were talking about today. You break them out, they're like. And I have a bunch of Packer ones that I kept. I always kept my rain suits because of playing golf or going fishing in them. So, like, there were a lot of times, like, I would take all my gear when I was leaving a job, and I would just leave it in my locker, just bag it all up, and okay, it's yours. But I take the rain suit, and,
Sir.
So you might be Barry and I might be playing golf, and I'll have on a Jacksonville Jaguar rain suit, all black with the little logo on it, And he's
you
like,
guys could match in that
There
regard.
it is. I got one myself.
Jags.
Well, I used to, when I was in Jacksonville, Barry will understand this. I used to live in Ponte Vedra. I lived at TPC.
Yeah. Nice.
And matter of fact, I lived on the at the 18th green there because the team doctor of the Jaguars, he let me rent his house.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it was like, it's kind of a little bit of a funny story. He goes, hey, you have a place to live, Brian? And I'm like, no, I don't. And he goes, I got this place at Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra. I go, Doc, I'm just a scout. Just a scout. He goes, $2,000. This is 1998. And I said, $2,000? Well, I go, what's the hook? He goes, I don't want the wife to have the house in the divorce.
Oh.
I lived in this house. So like I had pro golfers living around me, and Doc just said, I don't want the wife to have the house. So yeah, he rented it to me while I was in Jacksonville.
That's awesome.
That course is unreal.
It is.
That area is nice,
I used to walk out the back door and literally had like my little carry bag, and I played 9 holes of golf every day.
Man.
After work, I drive. You talk about
awesome.
Barry was time from the old Alltel Stadium, the Gator Bowl, to where I was living in Ponte Vedra there. I mean, I could time it. I mean, I was just
20 minutes.
Hammer down. And I got, as soon as I walked in the house, I threw my keys, walked out the back door, had my clubs waiting at the door, and went onto the course.
Man.
That's what we were playing.
That's clutch right there.
So when you were playing every day, what was your handicap? What were you lowest?
I would shoot in the high 70s.
Wow.
Nice.
I got to the point where I was playing, and then it's so funny when I left. Matter of fact, when I got the Cowboys job, when Larry Lacewell called me in 1999, it was the summer of, I was working in Jacksonville, but I was angling for this job is what I was doing. I was standing in the 18th fairway at TPC when Larry Lacewell called and said, "Hey, we want to bring you in," and all that. I said, "Great, yeah, I really do appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you." And then hit my shot to the green and made the putt, and that was really. But after
You're like,
that,
everything's finally coming together.
but when I came to Dallas, I was like, it was like I stopped playing, which was weird. Being from here. But having the ability to walk outside and play
That's different.
every single day, at least to get exercise. I walked 9 holes and carried 10 clubs and played those 10 clubs the whole day, and so but yeah, when I came to Dallas, and then we were laughing about Terrence Newman and golf and stuff like that. So and playing out at TPC. So it's great game. It really is.
It's the second day in a row we've had a golf reference in the opening segment.
Yeah.
Yesterday we were talking about the Cowboys won a mulligan, and today we're talking about the strokes and the handicaps and all sorts of stuff. It definitely is fun, but no such golf this weekend for the Cowboys. Maybe somebody will play some golf. Who knows? But right now it's really kind of a time to focus in and try and fix some things. We talked in depth yesterday about what a realistic expectation for a bye week should be.
Sure.
It should be the coaching staff and the front office doing some self-scouting, doing some self-reflection, and trying to turn some things around. But from a player standpoint, you're off. Yeah. And there's not a whole lot you can do other than your own personal training and your own specific routines that these guys go through, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect on the first third of the season as well. And you guys remember getting a report card every 6 weeks back in the day?
I used to have mine for a little bit.
The 6-week report cards. You either got a good grade or a bad grade, and you didn't want to show your parents either way.
Learn how to sign their name.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure did. I love how Chris is chiming in on that one. He's like, "Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Got it." I want to give some 6-week grades. Sure. The report cards for the first start of the season, and I'm going to split it up: defense, then offense, and then I'm going to categorize the last one as "quote unquote" leadership.
Sure.
In the final segment. Well, we'll start with, and these are individuals. I don't want to do units. I want to do individuals based on what you've seen so far this year. I'll start with Trevon Diggs, Barry Church. I'll let you start here. A through
Diggs.
F grading. Okay. What would you give Trevon Diggs in his first year or first couple games back from a huge injury last year?
I was thinking about this a lot, coming in on the drive. I saw the rundown. I'm looking at the Diggs situation there. And to me, it's tough. It's tough because I played with a lot of good corners who gave you both physicality and was able to cover as well. And Diggs has made, plays on the ball so far this season. He has done that. He's gotten beat as well, gave up some passes as well, but he's made some plays on the football. But the reason I'm going to give him, got to give him a C+ on this one. And the reason I do that is because I've seen too much consistency as far as not being able to come down and make a play on the run game. And now, I know that's not, the cornerback's primary role. Your primary role is to be able to go out there, shut down receivers, and take the football away. I understand that. But with the corners I played with, the great ones at least, they were able to give you both. The Jalen Ramseys of the world, the A.J. Bouye's when he was at the top of his game, they were able to lock down wide receivers, make plays on the football, and if the ball ended up coming their way running-wise, they weren't afraid to stick their head in there. And, so far this season, I've seen too many, inconsistencies. I don't want to say turning it down or making business decisions. I don't want to say that, but there's been times where, hey, man, you got to stick your nose in there, and you got to make the play. And if you do that, it turns a 10 to 15-yard gain to maybe a 5-yard gain, maybe a 6-yard gain, and you're able to rally as a defense. But to me, I've just seen too many instances, Baltimore, Detroit, whatever game you want to call it, where the guys were getting ran down, where teams were leaving him on an island saying, we need you. We're going to see if you want to tackle. We want to see if you're going to stick your nose in there and do this. And there's just been too many times where I haven't seen him come to the calling and make the play out there. Now, if there's one thing, if you're going to stick your nose in there and you missed a tackle, I mean, everybody, there's nobody's perfect out there. But, it's another thing to where, the effort just isn't there. So to me, I'm going to give him a C+ on this one. I still like his ability to make plays in the passing game. But to me, he just has to be a little bit more, I want to call him physical because that's not his, it's not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
But just give me a little bit more effort in the run game because your defense needs it.
It's a C- because his technique is not really good right now.
Yeah.
And we mentioned yesterday about the routes that Williams got behind him on the miss of the jam. We talk about the third down play against Baltimore where they got the to kind of get the first down to keep the drive going. And Dallas could have got the ball back. They maybe win that football game. It's unfortunate. His technique has not been nearly good enough. There's been too many times where he's trailed, he's missed with his hands, things that he is generally pretty good at. Is the knee injury? Is it one of those comeback things where we've seen this before with guys like Pollard and Steele and guys like that, where all of a sudden they're trying to play their way through some things? You talk about the stuff with the tackling and all that. I mean, I've seen this guy make tackles. I saw him in a game against Cincinnati, I believe a couple of years ago, maybe last year, where they ran a third down play on a crossing route, tackled the guy, made a play on fourth down, tackled the guy, got the defense off the field. He's capable of these things. When he plays good technique, he's one of the better cornerbacks in the league. When he doesn't play technique and he doesn't want to stick his nose in the action right there, he's just a guy. And right now he's playing like at a C- level. If he improves the things that we've talked about here, you're going to get a much better football player. But through the first 6 weeks of the season, I've seen a guy that looks pretty average right now, or below average.
I'll split the difference between the two. I was going to say C right up. So I agree with you and everything that you said. When it comes to Trevon Diggs, it's been that way before where there's been parts of his career where he doesn't want to come down and hit.
Yeah.
But like you said, the ability is there.
I've seen him do it before.
Going into the injury last year, that was a huge key for him.
Right.
And how well he played through the first 3 weeks of the year was because he was showing physicality and he was going downhill. That didn't lead to the injury. No doubt about it. That was just a freak thing on the practice field, and it just was unfortunate the way that it happened. But his physicality in the game was apparently better all the way across the board than it had been the year before. We haven't seen that. I'm seeing 2022 physicality, not 2023 physicality from Trevon Diggs, and I think there's ways that he's been good. He's made some plays. He's been decent in coverage. He's only allowed 18 receptions, which is top 25 in the league right now. So, but the thing you got to remember there is teams aren't necessarily throwing that direction. They're throwing toward Kalen Carson. They're throwing toward Amani Owawari.
You also see those explosive plays of the 18. Go back and look at how many of those are the big plays and stuff like that. So you got to be careful with that.
Nearly 200 yards receiving allowed. So that's yards per reception, about 11. Yeah. And he gave up some big plays against New Orleans, 39 yards per reception, and then last week against Detroit, 20 yards per reception. So
that's not going to cut it, man.
He's not an all-pro right now.
Yeah.
He's not playing at an all-pro level. He's
played at an all-pro level before.
Absolutely.
Pro Bowl level before. He just right now he's not.
Correct.
6 games through.
So go by what we see so far. That's all we can do.
This is all film. C across the board. All right, Eric Kendricks, Brian, I'll let you start.
Eric Kendricks, I felt like they really missed him in the game last week.
Yeah.
I mean, every week you look up with the tackles and where he's at. That to me is a C+ level right there. Every week he leads the team in tackles, but you're kind of seeing some things that a little bit. You thought maybe there's going to be a little bit better coverage stuff. You thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of downhill play. There's been times where he's been fooled on plays. There's been times where he's missed. There's been times where he's been late to the ball. He does find his way to the ball. Some of the finish hasn't always been great for him, but he is, like I said, it's 9-10 tackles a game, but he's getting a lot of opportunities to do that. And so I kind of feel like that level right now is right about a C+.
Okay.
I'm in that range as well. I'm going to go C when you talk about Kendricks out there. And like B said, he's all over the field as far as making these tackles. And I know he's, year 11. I get it. You kind of lose a step as you get there, as you get older. I was a part of that as well. But there was just times in previous years where you would see this guy knife through the line.
Right.
Like he would just get through there, get low, get skinny through the blocks, and make plays. Yeah. We just haven't seen that. We haven't seen that so far this season, and I get it. It's tough when you got offensive linemen on the second level like that, and you got to shed them to get downhill to make a tackle. I understand that, but I've seen guys with worse defensive lines make those same plays. I played with a Rolando McClain.
Yeah.
I've played with a Sean Lee, where our D line was nowhere near the level that this D line for the Dallas Cowboys had. They had guys in their lap as well.
You still believe that right now with Tyrus Wheat and
well, if
Carl
we're talking
Lawson
about the entirety of the
yeah.
season, I got to go by what we've seen from the entirety of the season. Yeah. So to me, he's not shedding, he's not shock locking, releasing as much, and he's the finish, like what Brian is talking about. This guy, I'm used to seeing. All right, you're gonna hit a guy, and you're driving him backwards.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to seeing from McKendricks. Not a guy falling forward and getting these leaky yardage. Those 2-3 yards falling forward, they add up over time. So to me, I like to see a little bit more thud from him, and hopefully when he comes back from this injury, we'll see a little bit of that old Kendricks.
I think I'm a little higher than you guys are. I'm going to say a B, just a straight B, not B minus, just because one, I'm taking into account what you got him for in the offseason, which is not much. And you went out and you got a guy that could be this centric part of your defense with the green dot, the leadership ability. And a lot of times he's trying to do those things where he's trying to get skinny, he's trying to shed blocks, he's trying to do all these things, but the entire defensive line is getting washed out. He's not getting a ton of help from the interior defensive line. And when he did, it was in one game specifically against the New York Giants for Mozzie Smith's in his best game of his career. Yeah. Eric Kendricks is a very capable player, very capable and heady player. I think he's probably the best linebacker you have in terms of football IQ. Athleticism, it's just not there because he's in year 11. Yeah. And so I'm going to give him a little bit of a break there. I'll give him a B. But I'll start this next one since I went last on the first two, and I'll start it off.
Who we got next?
Mozzie Smith. So this kind of goes hand in hand to me. Okay. D for Mozzie Smith. Straight up D. And the only reason I don't give him an F is because I've seen improvement. And I think from training camp on, the expectation is you want to see more from Mozzie Smith. Check the box. He's done more. Has he done enough as a former first-round pick? Absolutely not. Has he done enough to make me make me think they've solidified the interior of the defensive line? Absolutely not. So I'm going to give Mozzie Smith a D. I want to see more from the Giants game. What he did against the Giants, that's Mozzie Smith I need. And that's not even really the be-all, end-all for Mozzie. I want it to be higher than that. I want that to be the floor, but instead that's been the ceiling so far.
Yeah, it's a D, and you're absolutely right about the thing that always scared me as a scout was a flash player. A player that every once in a while flashes that ability and then flashes. And you talked about the Giants game, and there's something there are say there's 25 plays. There are 4 to 5 plays where you go, he gets it. That's what you have to do. And then the other plays are kind of not negative plays, but they're not, it's not, you could grade him on 25 plays and maybe 16 of them are just neutral plays where he didn't really do anything. It wasn't, he wasn't a liability. Last year he was a liability. He's far less the liability, but the expectations for him probably were really, really low coming in. He had a great game against the Giants. You kind of saw that ability that he has that they saw at Michigan, but we haven't seen that nearly enough, and that's a big problem for them right now.
Yeah, give me a D minus, and the only reason I'm not going to that F is because, like you guys just said, we saw a little bit of it in the Giants game, but you never want to be a flash player. Yeah. You never want to be that where you just show up every now and then. You always want to have that consistency, and that's what makes the great ones the great ones. The consistency, no matter what happens, no matter what's in front of them, behind them, no matter what the team is looking like, they're gonna play great. So. When you talk about a Mozzie Smith, this is a first-round pick. This is not an undrafted guy that, came in, he's a project, none of that. This is a first-round pick, so I have to grade him on that. And from what I've seen so far, it's a D minus because, he just hasn't solidified that interior that, we thought he would be. And there's a lot of pressure because he was supposed to be the guy to come in and this guy right here is going to solidify this run defense. And it just hasn't been there so far. So to me, can he improve? Of course he can. But right now, from what we've seen so far this season, I got to give my guy a D minus.
See, the thing about what's happened with Mozzie is the run defense overall has been so bad. Yeah. Well, for 3 games especially, all 3 games at home, but it's been so bad that it's overshadowed that his inability to really make plays. I mean, it's like, well, take your pick. You want to blame it all on Mozzie? Well, you can blame it on. We talked about Kendricks. We've talked about Diggs. We've talked. I mean, everybody has kind of taken a turn at not doing a very good job playing this run defense, and Mike Zimmer included. As defensive coordinator. I mean, trying to figure out ways to stop people, slow people down, but they have not had the consistency that they need to play really good run defense.
Well, and I think the grades that we just gave for all three of those players, I mean, that's a player at each level. Yeah. Defensive line, linebacker, corner. I did that on purpose. But it was C, C, and D as kind of the C minus
let me
D,
tell you,
actually, in terms of average.
The only player that I would give an A2 on defense is Jordan Lewis.
Absolutely,
he's playing his butt off.
I would too. I mean, you could say,
off.
With Tank, you're probably a C plus, B minus, maybe there. Micah Parsons,
What about Demo? Probably a B.
I think so.
B
maybe
minus.
C plus, maybe there too. But if you said, hey, give me who's been your best, your most consistent defensive player throughout this whole thing. It's been Jordan Lewis.
100%.
So if you said, hey, throw an A, who's your best, give me an A, Jordan Lewis would be my guy.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Same for
I
you?
agree with him on that one. Jordan Lewis has been playing his butt off in the slot.
What about the safeties, real quick?
Too many missed tackles for me.
Yeah,
too many missed tackles. I mean, I know it's one of the toughest, jobs in the National Football League when you got a guy running at you in the open field and you're coming down. But that's what you get paid to do. You got to make these plays, and there's just too many missed tackles, and I see too many shoulder dives. Like I don't know what happened to just hitting and wrapping up and coming up with a body part, but everybody's going in there trying to just blow up everybody, and you can't.
It's
do
kind of been Dono's calling card.
Yeah,
though.
he reminds me of my guy Wilcox, who I played next to. I mean, he's when he connects, you
gonna
get
hit.
You're gonna get hit, but you got to wrap up, man. Just
Have you ever seen? Barry, you remember that practice in Oxnard where JJ went after Dez?
Oh, he knocked his block off. Yeah.
I have never seen a player throw hands as fast as he did. He hit Dez like 3-4 times.
Was this the fight? Like the
this
actual
was
fight?
the actual
I've
fight.
seen this video.
I think I got the picture on my
Tore him up.
phone.
Sweet.
Like because I took it when I was watching tape. I'm like, God dang. He hit him. He hit him
so fast
4 times before Dez even knew what happened. Jeez. I've never seen. I was like thinking pro boxer hands.
Speed.
Oh, it was crazy.
Speed. Like
Sugar Ray
Leonard,
other year where he was
it was crazy. But Wilcox was a nut. That guy was crazy. But I've never seen a guy fight that fast.
Yeah.
Oh, it was quick.
Yeah.
Oh, he rolled up
I'll
on me.
have to look that
Bang,
up.
bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
And
I'll
then
look it up
Dez was
at the
kind of like,
break.
wait,
Yeah.
hold me back. I was like, oh no.
It took him by surprise, and then he had the bow up.
Wilcox got his helmet knocked off.
See, okay, I've seen this
he's
video.
like,
then.
you see these dreads just flying, and it's
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
wild.
I mean, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Look at some good hands, man.
I love it. So there's the defensive side. We'll give Zimmer a grade here in the final segment, but when we come back, we're going to get to the offensive side. What's the grade for CeeDee Lamb right now, gentlemen? Is it higher than passing at the moment? We'll talk about it right after this with more Talkin Cowboys. If you're looking for fresh American roasted coffee that gives back, you need to head to your local grocery store and pick up a bag of Black Rifle coffee. That's right, America's coffee is now available in the coffee aisle of a grocery store near you. Black Rifle Coffee Company is veteran-founded with a mission to give back to those brave men and women who have served our nation. Every bag, box, or can you purchase helps support that mission. Head to your local grocery store and roast yourself some Black Rifle coffee today.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code GetJackBlack.com/CowboysVIP. That's GetJackBlack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this portion of the show is brought to you by Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Quaker Oats, trusted since 1877. There you go.
Whoa.
Got the bowl. Yeah, 1877.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Did you get your oats this morning?
Are they
Yes.
Quaker
my guy.
Battle Creek, Michigan, or is that Kellogg's?
Good question.
Battle Creek, Michigan. I just always remember companies where they're
Is that like a headquarters?
Quaker Oats.
It says Chicago.
It's Chicago. Okay, I think maybe it's Kellogg's is Battle Creek, Michigan. So I'm sorry. My apologies to Quaker Oats.
It is.
Is it Battle Creek?
It's Kellogg.
All right.
Well,
My
Quaker
apologies.
Oats, the
Quaker
official
Oats.
oatmeal sponsor
Hey,
of
there
the
it
Dallas
is.
Cowboys. We got
it is.
Chicago, good town. Yeah.
Don't blame him. He's not on our show every
Yeah,
time. It's
yeah,
fine. He's got blockchain.com on the
there
break.
There we go.
All right, Bryan Broaddus,
My apologies.
Barry Church.
Yes, sir.
I'm Kyle Youmans. Barry, it was funny when Brian in that last segment he called Mozzie, or he said you fear a flash player. You don't. He's not. He wasn't calling Mozzie a flash player, but you fear that as a scout. Were you ever called a flash player in your career, or is there a worse insult? Because you kind of reacted like,
Oh, there's
"Ooh."
worse insults.
Like you kind of like shuddered a little bit. Like,
Oh, I mean, yeah.
what was the worst thing anybody ever called you in your career? Like a legitimate
And I
football
don't mean
term.
this by any disrespect to my guy D Mac and anybody else who cut their teeth doing the team stuff, because that's you got to do it. You got to do it. But yeah, man, I was he's just a special teams guy.
teamer.
And hey, no disrespect, but to me that was extremely disrespectful because I felt like I was better than the guys that were in front of me at the time. This was year maybe 2, so I was playing heavy on teams.
Oh, yeah, you
heavy
were
on
early.
teams.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get labeled as that because then they put you in that category and it's like, oh, he can be nothing more than a special teams guy. So
Interesting.
No disrespect, but to me, I found that extremely
It's like
disrespectful.
being called a one-trick pony.
Exactly.
Like,
All
I-
he can do is this. That's it.
That's understandable.
No disrespect to CJ Goodwin. Just
Yes,
letting
no,
y'all
yeah,
know.
everybody
CJ's
else
made a hell of a
Right.
career doing
Yes,
it.
yes.
so
I mean it by
letting
no
you know.
disrespect, but hey, I couldn't.
There are a lot of terms that scouts will, and scouts deserve sometimes for evaluating players need to be called the same thing. But when you call a player like stiff,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
and you say this guy's a stiff player,
Yep.
you're thinking this guy can't move, he's not athletic. That to me would be that would be a big
That's
one.
a
Now
biggie.
there's some other words too that we can't pronounce. We can't do that. And they say it in a meeting, and when you hear that word, you just kind of go, okay, let's move on to the next guy.
I feel like being called slow, but like even then, like if your 40 time is slow, then you're slow. I feel like that's a huge disrespect. If like I could play faster than that, I'm not a track runner. I'm a football player. Like I feel like
knew
that
I
would be
wasn't
weird.
fast though. See, that's about I knew I wasn't a fast guy. I
So,
was
like-
all up top. Like that's
Yeah.
you
You gotta be right place, right time.
because I'm not gonna be able to make up with it with my speed. So I had to be in the right place at the right time.
I was just curious. I was curious because
Yeah, no, but
you were like, ooh, like when you said flash player, you're like, oh, you don't want to be a
yeah,
flash
yeah,
player.
but
but
wanna
yeah,
be considered
you
that.
don't want to be you really don't. You don't
No.
want to be a guy that like you make one play and then you disappear for 6.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy.
No, not at all. Is this guy one of those guys in 2024?
Oh no.
I mean, he just said it. Make one play and then disappear for 6.
Oh,
CeeDee Lamb, what's your grade?
oh, don't give me first. Don't give
You
me
don't wanna
first.
go
Nah,
first?
I don't want to go first on this one.
Brian, you want to start it?
Yeah, he's playing at a C level right now too. And
A CD level?
CD level. It's unfortunate, and this is where I need to maybe reevaluate what I thought of CeeDee Lamb. And I was of the belief veteran receiver, veteran quarterback. And people were trying to tell me that, like, well, hey, they didn't have training camp together. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. And I was like, these are two veteran players. They know each other. They've gotten better every year, every game. They got better. There might be something to that. There might be something to not having a training camp. Now, okay, we're 6 weeks into this thing, right? Yeah. We're 6 weeks into this thing. But we still have the mistakes of, wait a minute, I saw that safety standing over the top and I threw the ball to the out, and you still ran into that safety. You know, we've seen the red zone turnovers. You know, there's something that veteran quarterback and veteran receiver should not have to go through. And that's the unfortunate part of it, though. What's amazing is that, and I was just looking at metrics. I'm in this weird mode now in my life where I look at metrics. I look at the film and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, you see this, but does it really the story? CeeDee Lamb's in that mode right now where in off coverage, he doesn't have as many, he's less targets and less receptions than he's had. Mm-hmm. His numbers against press coverage and man coverage are still the same, and he's still having the same production. That's been on track. Where he's fallen off a little bit is off coverage. When people give him space, they haven't targeted him, and he hadn't had the number of receptions that he's had in the past. So maybe that's because you got some other guys that are kind of maybe some guys stepping up and getting other opportunities. But that's something to me, not getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb there's no excuse for that. Mm-hmm. You know, if there's off coverage, we saw what he can do in off coverage. That route he ran the other day where it's one hand across the middle, we saw that. So there needs to be more of that involved. But right now, he's not playing at a level where he was with Jefferson and Chase and those guys that we're accustomed to seeing. Hill, we're accustomed to seeing him play at that level. He's not near that level at all.
Yeah, I'm going to go C- on this one. And for everything Brian had just said, to me, like, I don't know. I'm not in that locker room. I don't know if it's, not the amount of targets he's getting, if he's not winning this, that, and the third, but he's just not the player that we've come accustomed to seeing so far this season. Right. And I can only go by, what I saw last year. I mean, this is a guy who had 1,700 plus yards, 14 TDs. And no matter what the situation is, there was no excuse. I mean, we saw this guy get triple team, double team, safety over the top, and they were still getting him the football. He was still winning on routes, getting the ball in the open field and making guys miss. We just haven't seen that so far from CeeDee Lamb this year. The explosive plays, getting the guy the ball and letting him work his magic as a yak receiver or yards after the catch. That's his biggest, to me, attribute out there. Once the ball's in his hands, he's one of the best at making guys miss and getting those explosive plays. We just haven't seen that so far. So to me, I'm going to give him a C- just from what I've seen so far this year and knowing that the player we saw last year was that good. I mean, he was right, like you just said. It was 1A, 1B, to Jefferson.
It's almost like Zach Martin with the level of like you've set the bar at this certain
so
level.
High. You can't.
And now if you're not getting there.
I was kind of curious, just in the middle of the segment, I looked this up, and I was kind of seeing where he was at the bye week last year, right? Yeah. I'm going to read these two stat lines, and then I'm going to tell you the difference between the two. So this is 2023 CeeDee Lamb at the bye week. 34 receptions, 475 yards, and a touchdown. Okay? 34, 475, and a tutty. This year, 32 receptions, so only 2 less. 467 yards, which is only 8 less, and 2 touchdowns, which is 1 more. Yeah. So in terms of total production, right around the same. Not the same, though, between the two. Last year, his yards per target, nearly 12 yards per target.
Right.
81% catch percentage. Yeah. The comparative to this year, under 8.5 yards per target.
It's 69%?
58%.
58%. It went
58%.
down. Yeah.
So the catch percentage, significantly less. He's been targeted 55 times this year as opposed to 42 going into the bye week last year. So he's had 13 more targets and 2 fewer receptions. So even though the total production as a whole, microcosm, you look at yards, stats, touchdowns, whatever, it's there. The production and the efficiency of CeeDee Lamb is not. And that's what we're talking about. So I'll give him a C. Okay. He can get better.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, he's still your best receiver. He is your best weapon. So I'm not going to give him a D or anything close like that. But if we're grading on a curve here, like we kind of have been already, he's got to be better as your number one guy. You want him. CeeDee Lamb should be nothing less than an A-. at any point in a season, and he's at a C right now. All right, moving on to the rookie, Tyler Guyton. I know we missed last game, but we're grading on 5 games here. I want to talk about Tyler Guyton. What's your grade so far? Barry, you skipped on CeeDee.
Yeah, so I'll go first on this one. And, Broaddus will be able to break this down a lot better than me. I never, played the offensive line, but I can just go by from what I see.
I wasn't very good at it, but I did play.
I could just go by from what I see. And I understand he's a rookie, first-round pick. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to give him so far I don't want to do this to the man, but I'm going to give him a D+. Okay. And it's tough because he's gone through a gauntlet of pass rushers from, TJ Watt, Cam Jordan out there. I mean, you got the guys over in Baltimore. So he's gone through a gauntlet of guys out there. That guy named
Myles Garrett.
I mean, he's gone through a gauntlet of guys out there. But from what I've seen, the pressure's given up, the sacks given up, and more importantly, the penalties that have become drive killers at times, to me, is why I give him the grade that I've given him. From training camp to this point right now, he's shown those flashes. Like, he has the ability, the feet there sometimes, the hands here and there, but he just hasn't been able to put it all together. And maybe that has to do with the gauntlet of guys he's gone against. But like I said, I can only go by what I see on tape. And for me, I'm going to give him the D+.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a D right now. And the problem that we're running into is we're so used to the Cowboys taking first-round offensive linemen and plug and play, and they're all Bs or As or that kind of stuff. We saw it with what you go back with Tyron Smith, and then Zach Martin, and then Travis Frederick, and and then Tyler Smith. I mean, everybody you've ever drafted has been a plug and play, and probably been a B+ to an A player right off the jump. Sure. This has been a real struggle for him, and I think he missed a lot of time during training camp. He got sick, he got injured. A lot of time on task, a lot of practices. There were times where he was going up against Micah Parsons and Tank and looked really efficient. Hands, feet, everything that Barry was talking about was on point. He's in survival mode. He's yet to play, and I've said this on several platforms, he's yet to play somebody that he's better than. Mm-hmm. He is, you mentioned the gauntlet of names he's had to go through. And a lot of times they haven't helped him. They've thrown him in the deep end of the pool and said, swim. You're going to be single blocking 75, 80% of the game.
That's so true. Swim.
Just
get after
it.
it.
Yeah. And so to me, I think that we're spoiled. Mm-hmm. We're spoiled with plug and play first round offensive linemen around here. And unfortunately for him, the transition, the learning curve from right tackle to left tackle has been really steep for him.
And I think it was anticipated. I mean, when you guys were wrapping up the draft show, I was on paternity leave, but you guys were talking about how it's not going to be plug and play. This is not a plug and play player.
We're accustomed to it around here.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was going to be a curve. There was going to be an adjustment process.
Right.
Do you think it's steeper than what it was
steeper.
Anticipated?
A lot steeper.
I think so too.
A lot steeper. And it like I say, him missing basically week or 2 of training camp.
That was big.
I mean, those were practices. Those were padded practices. Yeah. I mean, and we started to see it a little bit when he came back and he was, working, and you're like, okay, that was a good rep. The one-on-one stuff was good against, Tank or Parsons when he'd get the opportunity. And then we saw Jared Verse against the, the Rams, and you're like going, Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I actually said that audibly on I think it was a Training Camp Live?
Training Camp Live.
It was you and me. I think, no, for real, Jared first beat him on a drill, and I was like, this is not good.
Yeah, and so you started to kind of feel like, though, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a problem. And then you watched the preseason game against the Raiders, and the Raiders were getting into his body. Hands were outside, yet the feet weren't right. And then, week 1, it was a survival mode. I mean, he did everything he could to keep his body between him, and Myles Garrett. Yep. He did everything. I mean, he made Myles Garrett run over him to get to Dak Prescott. And he just hasn't had a breath when it comes to just, it's hard to work on technique and get things right in the season. Yeah. When you're just, you go from practice to a game, and you're just working on steps, and you're not really, it's kind of like, 2 steps, okay, we're done. 2 steps, you're done, to get in the playoff. he hadn't had a time where he could just completely drill on his feet, and maybe he's doing that this week. Maybe he's going over with Duke and those guys and trying to figure out some technique stuff that he needs for the second half.
Yeah, I'll give him a D+ because we've seen parts of it. We've seen
Flashes
why.
again,
flashes again.
There it is.
We've seen why he is that pick.
Yeah.
He's just got to put it all together. And he hasn't had a chance to a significant extent, whether it's injury or sickness or whatever. The competition level, I think, is significant.
Yeah.
But he's got to have a chance. He's got to click, and it hasn't clicked yet.
Yeah, it has.
Real quickly, Jake Ferguson. I'll say B- with Jake Ferguson. He's been better up to this point than he was last year as a receiving possibility, even without one game in the fold. I still think he's right now your number 2 or number 3 weapon, depending on the day, in terms of your offense. So I'll give him a B-.
I'm gonna give him a C+. Like you said, he's starting out a little bit better than he did last year. I just thought he would be more of a red zone threat so far this season. I mean, when they got down
Hasn't
there,
had
I
a
thought,
touchdown yet.
Spread him out there. He would be able to be a mismatch on safeties and linebackers, and we just haven't been able to see that so far this season.
I'm going to give him a C. My expectations for Jake Ferguson were huge.
Yeah.
And, it's unfortunate that we've seen he hasn't made those spectacular plays that he is made in the past. I mean, those the ball that I could say, the ball that they set up for him to run across the field and he was out, and he went up and he missed the ball, misplayed the ball. That's kind of, to me, was a microcosm of how the season's kind of gone for him. That's a catch that Jake Ferguson usually makes right there. So I don't think, like I say, the lack of some red zone stuff, the lack missing some passes, we haven't seen that tremendous run after the catch when he gets the ball and he's leaping over somebody or he's running through 3 guys. It's a 7-yard route that turns into a 17 or 18-yard play because of run after catch. I think that he's been steady. I just don't think there's been anything spectacular from him.
Sure. Any A's on offense? I don't think I have one. The closest would probably be Tyler Smith at left guard.
I'll tell you what. If you want to just say consistent play throughout, Hunter Lipke is.
He's been great. Yeah.
Hunter Lipke is a guy that they last week they didn't hand him the ball nor throw him the ball, but he was used as a blocker a couple different times. To me, anytime you don't get Hunter Lipke involved 4 or 5 snaps, get him the ball, hand him the ball, do something with him with the ball, I think it's a wasted opportunity. I think he's one of your better skillful players. He might not look that way, but he has size. He's got athletic ability. He's got really good hands. He's super tough. When he's not involved in the game plan, then to me, it's just a wasted weekend for him. I would give him a B, maybe B+ for how, if you talk about the guys that you're really like, wow, this guy's really getting it done. I think Hunter Lipke's right up there.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. All right. When we come back, it's leadership time. We're going to talk about Dak Prescott, Mike Zimmer, Mike McCarthy, giving the grades in the first 6 weeks of the season when we come back right after this.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions? For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company with Bryan Broaddus, Barry Church, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. This segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. All right, gentlemen, this is the tough one. This one's going to be a little bit deeper than I think all of us have, but we don't have a ton of time here, so we've got to blow through this.
Okay, here we go.
All right, Barry. We'll start it off with Dak Prescott.
Okay. And we're talking about leadership. We ain't, not play or anything like that. We're talking about
No. All of it.
All of it
encompassing grade of the first 6 weeks.
All right.
I just tabbed all three of them together as leadership.
Give me for Dak, man, give me a B+.
Okay.
Give me a B+. I know, so far he hasn't been playing as great as he was last year. But to me, he's been that guy that's been able, not in his entire career, but at least the parts of this year, that's been able to lift those guys around him. I mean, I know CeeDee Lamb and that connection may not be where we want it to be so far this season, but look at guys like Tolbert. I mean, look at guys like, all the younger guys. Hunter Lipke's getting involved as well. Tolbert coming into the season was supposed to be your fourth option, and he's been playing pretty well so far this season. So give me B+ for Dak Prescott. I'd like him to take care of the football a little bit more, but I feel like sometimes in those games he's pressing a little bit to get back into the game. So he has to take care of the football a little bit better, but give me a B+ overall.
I'll do B- in that same sense, just because there's a lot of times where Dak has helped you at least stay in the game or helped you win 3 games already this year.
That's true.
I mean, the Pittsburgh game, you don't win without Dak Prescott. You also might not be in that situation
that's true.
without Dak Prescott. That's the thought process behind a B-. Red zone turnovers got to stop.
Yeah,
there's been 3 in the last 2 weeks by the same significant contributors.
Yeah.
And I'm not even counting the Rico Dowdle fumble that almost gave the game away in Pittsburgh. You got to take care of the football, like you said. If you can take care of the football better, I think this offense will be in a better way if they can finish drives too. That's the second thing that's been a real knock for me. And Jake Ferguson plays a part in that. Offensive line plays a part in that. Dak is a B- to me. He's playing good football. He's not playing great football.
100%.
And there's a way that he can play great football.
Yeah, that's a C effort right there to me. I mean, there's expectation. What's really funny is if you look at metrics, his numbers are very similar to Pat Mahomes, but we feel very different about Pat Mahomes as we do to Dak Prescott.
So.
We feel very different about Jordan Love. He's another guy that has very similar to numbers, and his team looks like they're playing very well. There's more things that Dak Prescott could probably do. I think the pocket awareness, there's been times where I feel like he's really not feeling totally comfortable. He might not be totally comfortable with this offensive line. I feel like I've overrated this offensive line, and it's probably not helping him a whole lot standing there, and he just hasn't been accurate on some of his throws. But he hasn't also had the opportunity to step up and throw the ball. I know the ball that went down the sidelines to Tolbert, if it was thrown a little further, that's a touchdown. I think he's missed on some routes. That's the unfortunate thing with Dak. The red zone turnovers are alarming right now. That is an alarming situation. I mentioned him, Mahomes. They're both thrown 6 interceptions. I wonder if Mahomes' interceptions are as alarming as bad. The pass he overshot in the middle of the field to I believe it's to Brooks, that was just a horrible pass that the safety grab there for Detroit was just it was a horrible pass. I think right now he's not playing at a winning level. Sure, the level that you could have got him at the Pittsburgh, he was a big part of that. But some of these other games, they've need him to be better, and it just hasn't happened.
Hasn't happened yet. All right. Mike Zimmer, Bryan Broaddus.
Mike is really, really struggling right now with the lack of personnel. Mike, I thought, was going to be more buttoned up. They haven't been more buttoned up. They've given up big plays. They've given explosive plays. That's been a real problem. It's a D level right now with Mike. I felt like that they were going to be more sound, more on the screws, not make mistakes, not make mental mistakes, not be out of position. It's very alarming. It's some of the things we saw in the Green Bay game that we blame Dan Quinn for. Still some of the things happening here.
Yeah.
It might be a lot of your personnel. Mike's a good coach, but right now it's not a winning level there.
Yeah, give me a D+ as well. Like Brad said, it's just not at a winning level right now. And what's alarming is the explosive plays that we've seen from this team. I mean, you go all the way back to the Saints game where, Carr was able to carve this secondary up, and that's not even including what they were able to do on the ground game. So to me, it's a D+. I look at the Steelers game where, they were minus a couple of their big-time players, and they were still able to grind out a good win out there. And I understand that offense isn't the greatest when you talk about Fields and everything, but they were able to get pressure on Fields and help this team win. But overall, to me, it's a D+.
I'm right there with you, D+. And the only reason I think it's a D+ and not a D is because he has had so many injuries.
He's had a lot of injuries, but he'll admit to you that he has to do a better job. He said yesterday in our media availability he might have panicked a little bit in some of the stuff that Detroit was doing to him.
I don't want to give him a pass, but at the same time, that's a lot of decimation on your defense. Well, you're missing your top linebacker, top 4 edge rushers.
Mike's a good coach. I mean, he's got to. You have to
hold them to a higher standard.
You have to figure out scheme. You have to figure out if I'm down guys, I have to do other things to make it work. And Mike wouldn't ask for a pass.
Nope.
He would say, "Hey, we have to be better." That's the thing I love about Mike Zimmer.
I like it. Mike McCarthy, final one, gentlemen.
Give me a D on this one. Your teams have started out slow on too many of occasions, and the previous years that was one of his calling cards: starting fast and making sure you get on teams quick. And you are, calling the plays offensively, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes, you are.
The lack of balance there to me is alarming. When you're relying on Dak Prescott to throw the ball 40 sometimes a game, I don't think that's a recipe for success. So I have to give my man a D on this one.
Yeah, it's almost a D-, maybe even an F, because every week there's been a bad loss. They've talked about lack of preparation and practice and things like that. That's reflective on the head coach. He's the one that sets the schedule. He's the one that makes sure that practice is done the right way. He's got to make sure that his team is listening, learning, and implementing things that they're trying to do. As a play caller, I think he's failed him too. I think you've seen flashes of plays where you feel like, oh, that was a creative way of moving the football. They haven't been good in the red zone. They haven't been good scoring points. It's been a struggle for them. Their offense looks like at times it's a fight just to get a yard.
Yeah. And
so to me, as a play caller, it's almost an F. And as a head coach, it's a D- because his team hasn't been able to get. If we keep hearing every week that their practices haven't been good, that's reflective on him.
100%.
That's a problem.
And that's reflective on the players as well.
No doubt.
But reflective on him for allowing it to happen.
Well, and you mentioned the Green Bay game and some of the same problems that are popping up from the Green Bay game. Yeah. Same can be said for Mike McCarthy as you can for the defense, because the problems of running the football, the problems of protecting your quarterback, the slow starts, the preparation, all of these things, check. It hasn't worked this year. Yeah. It's worked in the past. He has 3 straight 12-win seasons for a reason. That's tough to do in the NFL.
That's very true.
There was going to be a drop-off at some point. You didn't expect it to be this year, especially when you're paying these guys. You've got talent. You've got all pros on every level of your offense and every level of your defense. You got to be better. And I think we talked about it extensively yesterday, the preparation side of things. That bugs me. That really bugs me. If you're talking about preparation, and these are his own words.
His words and other players' words.
Absolutely.
And so players. Barry, no offense. Sometimes players they're left trying to explain things they can't explain.
100%.
And then they talk about we've got to be better at preparation. That is a crutch. But if a number of guys are saying, it's very telling. It's very telling. Yeah.
All right. Those are our report cards: offense, defense, leadership. Before we go, Brian, of course, you're on the break.
Yes.
You're on the draft show as well on 105.3 The Fan, G-Bag Nation, 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Right.
Every Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Check
we think
out
we
Brian.
have a job left if the owner got rid of us.
I think so. I think we're good for now. We're good.
For now, we're good.
Barry Church, you're on the Players Lounge.
Special edition. Pre and post game
coverage. Check them out. If you don't follow their podcast, they do phenomenal work, as you can see here over the last 2 days. And since you are on the draft show, in April, if the season ended today, what would be the position group that you would draft for the Cowboys? Go.
I think
first round.
I think you have to continue to look at the defensive line, that situation. You can't pass on a running back. I don't think they wanted to pass on a running back. I just think it didn't fall the right way for him in the draft. That's unfortunate.
I agree. Ashton Genty, Boise State.
Oh, Texas guy.
Yeah, Frisco guy.
Yes, indeed.
Frisco Lone Star, baby. For Chris Beam, for Barry Church, Bryan Broaddus, check both those guys out. I'm Kyle Youmans. We'll be back 9 a.m. Central Time with the full cast and crew of Talkin Cowboys on Monday. We'll see you then.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!